Hello guys, I'm the sole developer behind the Tmpad app, and in this video tutorial I'm gonna show you how to use the app and what it actually does. There are a lot of videos from different creators on this platform, and yeah, while I do appreciate them showcasing the app, most of them spread a lot of misinformation about how the app works and what it actually does. So what the app does, it allows users with privileged permissions like root access, magisk, ksu, whatever, or shizuku to run some of the system commands that allow to get better performance in games. Let's start with my favorite game and my favorite level. So my device is Blackview BV9200. It's quite old. It has Helio G96, so it's not anything like Snapdragon 8 Elite or whatever. It runs custom ROM, specifically Infinity X GCI, so it is not optimized to my specific device. The resolution is 1080 by 2400, 120 Hz. So I think if I would be running stock Android A12, it might run games better, but I don't think it actually matters. I have installed GCI Android 16. So let's start with my favorite game. Hopefully you can see FPS here. This one's my favorite level, but it doesn't run very good on my device. As you can see, my FPS dropped from 120 to 60, and it's going even lower. At this point, this is not even playable. Well, I think you got the gist. So now let's talk about why this happened. So obviously this is quite complicated level and it's demanding. The phone's GPU can't really handle it all. So for example, if we multiply 1080 by 2408, we get 2.6 million pixels. So it's 2408 by 1080. So my entire screen needs to render this many pixels. So let's circle back to what the Tmpad actually does. When you open the app, you are presented with a row of controls. There is scaling and there is FPS limit. So if I, for example, select 0.5, that means that each of my screen sides will be multiplied by 0.5. And if you have finished 6th grade of school, you should know that if you multiply by 0.5, that's basically as divide by 2. So instead of 2408, it's gonna be 1204, and instead of 1080, it's gonna be 540. So let's kinda verify that. 2408 multiplied by 0.5 multiplied by 1080 multiplied by 0.5. So in result, because of each side was divided in half, it will be rendering a quarter of a screen. It's gonna be rendering 650,000 pixels, so it's just a quarter of what it was rendering before. And if we try to run the game with this scaling, let's see what it does. So as you can see, the situation is completely fixed. There is no drop to 60 FPS. The game plays absolutely fine. And moreover, I'm gonna tell you, I can't really see any difference in image quality. Well, as long as it's not some small text or other shit. In some places it might still drop a little, but it's 4x FPS. You really gonna complain about that? And actually, the lower you go, the lower will be demand on the system and the better performance will be. So you can set it to 0.33. For example, 1080 divided in half is 540, but if you divide it in 3, it's 360p. So like, if you set it to the 0.33, you're gonna play in 360p instead of 1080, and as you imagine, it rendering only 1/8 of pixels on the screen would get you a significant performance boost. This does not work on every single game, so like there are different types of games. It might work better for some games and less for other. So for example, maybe Minecraft won't give you such a performance boost because it doesn't demand that much on the GPU and mostly on the CPU. This only can help if the game is GPU intensive. While preset buttons are 0.5033 and whatever, it doesn't really matter which one you type in. So you could just press the pencil icon, and in here you could enter any value you want. You could enter 0.8, you could enter 2.0, so it would render in twice as much resolution. So instead of 1080, that would be 4K if your device is powerful enough, and you might want to have better anti-aliasing or some shit. But in most cases, you just type like any value, 0.8, 0.75, 0.7, I don't know, 0.55, whatever one you like. 1.0 is native, so it is without any multiplier supply. If it goes less than 1, you run in lower resolution. If it goes over 1, you run in higher resolution. So, for example, if I do set it to 2x, you can see that even in-game menu I get lag. And for the level, it is really bad. So my GPU is not really handling 4K. So you could just emulate yourself potato experience if you wish so. I don't know why would you, but that's an option. Not every game is compatible. Some are not. Some may be running proprietary engines and they won't support this. Some games might behave weird, like having the image scaled down and just be in a corner or something. It works most of the times, but there are some outliers. Same way you could set FPS limit. You could type again any value, like I don't know, 45 or something, but it will limit. It is not unlocker. It will only limit. So if you, for example, might want to limit to 30 FPS to save some battery on the go, you can just do that. Additionally, some games, well, basically any game, can opt out of these multipliers, of these interventions. I personally haven't seen such yet, but technically there is a possibility. So how does the app actually work? Well, under the hood, it just executes terminal commands, and that's it. So for example, if I open terminal, I can just type one of the commands it uses, and here's the output, here's how to use this command, and you could just type out your command yourself in terminal, but it's not very user-friendly. So let's talk about how to set it up, actually. So when you first launch it, you will be presented with Choose Permission Mode dialog, where you can choose either root access if you have one, otherwise you need to install and configure Shizuku. And if you do already have root access, I'm pretty sure you can figure it out on yourself, but if you don't, this likely means you're a newbie and you need help with setting up Shizuku. So the app communicates what you need to do. So as you can see, please configure Shizuku first. You tap the icon, you open Shizuku app. If you don't have it installed, you will have to install it first. So there are different options on how you can get Shizuku started. You can either start it if you have root, you can start it via wireless debugging, or you can start it by connecting it to your computer and running a command in terminal. If you click here step-by-step guide, you could just read out how to do that. You open settings, go to developer option, enable developer option, turn on wireless debugging, allow wireless debugging, then pair to the app, grant it access, and start it. After that, you just return to the app, you give the app permission, and you proceed. Next thing, the app gonna run self-test. It's just gonna check if every command that it's gonna use is available on your device and is running correctly. So, for example, it uses cmd game command and it checks that it is present and gives some output. It does use list mods, list configs, cmd game set, device config list game overlay, and whatever. So the actual output of the commands does not matter to you. So this is a test. It does not do anything, it just checks if commands are present and are working. On some devices, for example Android 13 devices, cmd game list mods and list configs are gonna fail. Android 13 doesn't have them implemented properly. If any other than these two are broken, then you should just report it to the support group. Then you click close, read all the tips. If you do have game space conflict, you could just clear it. Actually, if your ROM has any games features, like for example mine has game space, you should remove target games or two optimization services might conflict. So for example, if I add a game here, you could see the settings for it inside it. There are preferred mods, which don't actually change anything. These are just presets. So like preset 1, preset 2, preset 3. There's no difference which one you select. You should just stick to standard. If we go back to the Tmpad app, you could see there is a conflicting game overlay intervention. So this one was set by GameSpace app. It has set mod 2, which is battery saver. It set downscale factor to 0.7. And here you can see there is a notice that there is conflicting game overlay intervention. So it has set 2 mods. It set mod performance with 0.7 downscale factor and mod battery saver with downscale factor 0.8. I have no idea why it did that. By the way, some devices might have presets already enabled. So, for example, my friend has a Samsung Galaxy S20 FE, and he had, for the Soul Knight, he had a preset by 0.8 or something, I don't really remember. When you click Show Debug dialog, it should show you which mods are available, which configs are selected, what is applied. So for example, for this app currently, I have current mod at custom. There are standard, performance, battery, and custom. So you can see standard is 1, so we have 2, 3, and 4. If for some reason you don't see configs applied, maybe it just uses one of these presets. Once again, I repeat myself, it doesn't fucking matter which one you have selected. Performance, battery, custom, whatever. The only difference is what values are set into them. If you do have something wrong, you could set it force set to custom, which erase something, or to performance. It might differ on device, so for example, for Android 13, you might want to click to set to performance if custom mode is not available for you. But if you see this notice, you could just click force remove and it's gonna be alright. So let's talk about the app settings. Obviously, we have permissions dialog where you can choose between root and shizuku. Every time you change provider, you should see self-test running. The commands dialog allows you to select default mode or alternative mode. Inside Android, there are 2 different systems that can do about the same thing. Default mode inside the app, the default mode is how I named this, uses CMD game commands. Alternative mode uses device config. Device config also have additional parameters, like you can select different graphics backends, and in the latest version you can set a lot of experimental settings that might work on some OEM devices. So for example, if your shit Xiaomi with HyperOS doesn't work by default, you could check any of these parameters. This won't work on every device. These are device-specific parameters. So this one might work on Xiaomi, this might work on Oppo, this might work on Huawei, whatever the fuck. I don't give a fuck. Please stop buying shit Chinese phones. Yeah? But overall, there are just same settings. If you do see that default mode doesn't work for you, you could just switch to alternative mode or just back. At least one of the 2 should work for you. Lastly, there's ad-free tip. If you find this app valuable, you could buy ad-free package for just $1 or tip the developer if you find my work really great. So there are minor differences ROM to ROM. For example, my ROM doesn't support any app, and when I try to apply anything to it, it just cries that the app must have inside its manifest category set as game. This is not forced on every single of the ROMs. So on mine, for example, it is, and you could only work with the games that do have game category inside them. On other, you could just set same downscale parameters to any other fucking app. So it just either works or doesn't, but in most cases you just need that for games. So this should be about it. You could also use alternative backends, enable angle, but it might cause issues in some apps. Also in alternative mode you could set it to angle, Vulkan, OpenGL, Skia, whatever the fuck. Remember, it says experimental for a fucking reason. You experiment with it. It doesn't mean that your fucking device support it or your ROM support it. So if you did set it to something and it doesn't work anymore, you just go back, you set it to native, you click reset all a couple of times, and it should be just fine. These settings should reset on every reboot, but if you do enable angle via this toggle, you should disable it. It might not get reset. That's it. See ya!